Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Coda information session this Tuesday evening. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us this evening. My name is Lee, and I'm one of the enrolment advisors here at Coda Academy. My job is to help you to decide if this is the right course for you. So I hope that our content this evening goes some ways towards helping you decide if you want to join us or not. So I'm actually joining you from Sydney, where we have one of our campuses. It's in Altano. I have two other guests joining me tonight. One is my colleague, Dallas, and he's joining us from Brisbane. And Henry from our partnerships team, he'll be joining us from Melbourne.
Hey everyone, hey Lee, thanks for having me.
There he is. Oh, thank you. So I might just wait a little bit just to, for a few more people to roll in before we properly start. But guys, why not start in the live chat telling us where you're joining us from? Because we do deliver this course all over Australia because we're 100% online. Are you in Sydney? Are you in Melbourne? Are you joining us from Adelaide, Tasmania? Where are you? We'd love to know. So if you drop it into the live chat there, let's just see where you're all coming to us from this evening. Oh, wow, that's cool. All across the country. People unite. Nice one. All right. So let me start the presentation part of our Nate. Let me just do this. Favorite part, sharing the screen. Here we go. Just drop in the live chat if you can see a big green and white screen that says where coders are made. Is that a yes? Oh, fabulous. Thank you very much. Okay, so you are in the right place. If you were looking to join Coda's information session with a focus on partnerships this evening, this is where it's at. So this is where we make coders at Coda Academy. Before we start this evening, we'd just like to do an acknowledgement of country. So we welcome you. In the spirit of reconciliation, Coda Academy acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea, and community. We pay our respects to their elders, past and present, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people today. Thank you very much. Who are we? Dallas, can you join me on screen?
Hello.
So we are the National Enrolment Advisors for Coda Academy, each based in Sydney and Brisbane. We represent kind of what you guys might be doing in the future if you do join, a company as a junior dev. We work in a remote team. We've never met each other. Great respect for each other, but he's in Brisbane and I'm in Sydney. So, Dallas, could you just take us quickly through the housekeeping for the live chat this evening?
Yeah, too easy. Thanks, Lisa. Yeah, once again, my name's Dallas. I'm one of the enrollment advisors here and I'm based in Brisbane. But, we both talk to everyone from all over Australia and even sometimes other countries as well. Basically, tonight I'm going to be running the chat. So throw any and all questions in there as they pop into your brain. We're happy to answer them. I'll do my best to answer as we're going, but we also will hold off on some questions that might be a little bit more complex. I'll put them aside and we'll get to them at the end. We might answer them sort of verbally. So any for Henry, the partnerships manager, I'll also put those aside too, and we'll get to all of them. Don't worry. If you do me a favor, you might see in the to section on the chat screen there, hosts and panelists. If it's not everyone already, please click it and choose everyone. That way everyone can see the questions and everyone can see all the answers when we answer them too. Other than that, I'll swing back to Lee and we get the ball rolling.
Thanks, Dallas. Okay, so that's who we are. The next part of what we're going to be doing this evening is we're going to be talking to Henry, and he's our partnerships manager. Over the past 2 years, Henry's formed connections with an impressive lineup of over 300 companies across Australia. They range in size. He's awesome. He knows everything about, industry placements. And so let's ask him a bunch of questions about them and see if we can learn about this, really quite extraordinary opportunity that we do offer at Coda Academy. So what we're going to do, I'll take Henry through a question and answer session. I'll let Henry go. I'll have a quick presentation about what we offer in Coder Academy. If you do join us as a student, then Dallas, Henry, and I will come back together and we'll field your questions from the live chat to the three of us. Okay, so that's how it will work. Okay, so Henry's going to join us in a mere moment. This is what we're going to be speaking about. Industry placement journey. It takes you through a presentation. You do an about me survey, so we get to understand a bit more about who you are and therefore where we could better place you with one of our industry partners. Excuse me. There's help with your LinkedIn and your resume, so we mentor you. There are assignments due. There's a resume review. There are documents that are sent to the partners. You'll do mock interviews, which is super handy for when you actually go and do your interview for placement. Then you have a placement confirmed, and then the really big cube on the end there is you successfully gaining placement and potentially your first job in tech. So from here, and I'm just going to not share my screen anymore because that is for later, I will invite Henry now back on.
Hey everyone, once again. Thanks for having me, Lee. Love the energy, by the way, you are guiding us through the evening today. I love the energy you are giving us. So awesome.
Great, thank you. It comes from tiredness. Yeah, but that's all right. Okay, let's start. All good. So Henry, yeah, thanks so much for taking time tonight to join us. We do really appreciate it. I'm just going to dig straight in. So our first question, what can students anticipate during their industry placement and what is the duration of our placements?
Yeah, so that's a loaded one. I will answer it, I promise. I will just quickly say the map you were showing is really handy. So if anybody needs it later on and would like to have a look at it more closely, let us know in a chat and Dallas can share it with you tomorrow or even tonight after the webinar to make sure that you can see the journey of the student when it comes dealing with the partnerships team. Look, when it comes to the industry placement itself, the main purpose of it is to prepare the students for what will happen after they finish the studies and when they decide to work as a developers. Obviously, there will be one outcome of letting them go after they graduate and jump into the waters without any additional preparation, but we really focus on getting their foot through the door and getting them ready. Particularly students who are career changes, which is the majority of our current cohorts, they need the additional guidance to feel more comfortable and understand how to apply their skills practically with the placements, and that we do quite well when it comes to preparation and how to make them feel more comfortable about it. When it comes to the partnerships team and what we do and what kind of important things, what's one of the most important things for us, we really want to validate the tech skills throughout the journey for the students that they learn at our bootcamps. And I like to think about the industry placement basically kind of softening the landing before they end up in their jobs. It's a good way to think about it because we all have heard of imposter syndrome previously, and this is one of those things when you start your journey 6 months before graduating and you find yourself in a situation when you suddenly have to find a job or trying to apply for different roles. There is definitely a bit of that hesitancy, and that's what we focus on with the graduates to make sure we can make it a little bit easier. And of course, one of the obvious ones is the fact they get the industry connections throughout the industry placement as well, and that can lead into further opportunities down the track. When it comes to duration, I think you were asking, so that depends on every company, does it a little bit differently. Each organizations have different requirements, but the minimum duration for an industry placement is 4 weeks. I would say the past 2 years that has changed a little bit and we see it increased. There are a few factors for this, but every organization basically has different inductions, a different onboarding process when it comes even to industry placements. And because of that, some organizations will want to extend it by a few weeks. So often our students are doing anywhere between 6 to 8 weeks in duration.
And the 6 to 8 weeks in duration makes it less of a workload per week. Yeah, like it's more of a part-time across the 6 to 8.
That, again, completely depends on students' availability. So often we have students who can do, let's say, 2 to 3 days a week. That can extend it as well. The hosting organizations understand these are students who are trying to career change, and they will be flexible to make it work for them. As long as we are sticking to Monday-Friday ratio of days when they would do the actual placement, the companies are open to work on that too. But yeah, occasionally we see even longer industry placements, but then it depends whether it's paid or unpaid as well.
Nice. Is it possible for students to express preferences for specific companies while they're seeking their placements? Like if they had like a real interest in working, for example, in fintech and they wanted to go and work for a bank, can they suggest that to you? And can it work that way?
Yeah, really good question. Absolutely. So I think I should just clarify kind of the ecosystem we are working within, or working with, I should say. In total, you are looking at around 400 organizations that we work with. The database itself that we work with is much larger, but the number would be roughly the amount of industry partners we keep somewhat regular contact with. Not every one of those businesses will take obviously students 3 times per year, which is the 3 times per year we are working on the placements for the students. But it is really about making sure we have there quite a buffer of organizations that we can reach out to anytime to make sure we can place our students in as highest numbers as possible. At the end of the day, it is really it comes down to the company, so it's up to them to say whether they will be able to help or not. But that would be kind of how we would be able to do it. And when it comes to saying the preferences, they have the option to say all of this preferences chart of whether they want to do front end, fintech, what kind of area in the survey that is sent to them in the beginning.
Nice. Okay, great. So yeah, it's kind of all very transparent in the process, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, absolutely. That's
great. Can you elaborate on the eligibility criteria that students need, in order to meet to be able to get the opportunity to actually take the placement? We often have questions from people on the phones sort of asking us, okay, so it's an optional industry placement, and so what do I have to do anything in order to get it? It's a good question. So can you elaborate on what the eligibility criteria is? And I will say, people, once you hear this, you'll agree it's very achievable. Just saying. Okay, go Henry.
It's funny because we as a partnerships team don't necessarily have eligibility criteria where students would be automatically ineligible. But there are moments throughout the process when we are more diligent, I would say. And that happens for those students who, for example, aren't attending classes or scored really low when it comes to academic marks. So, if someone misses 6 to 8 weeks of our bootcamp, we get concerned as a partnerships team, and we definitely look at the profiles more closely. The reasoning behind it is super simple. We want you to be ready, and we want you to utilize the experience in the best way possible, which you're not going to be able to do if you miss a big chunk of the course. The bootcamp is super, fast-paced, and we want to make sure that when you start the placement, you can also impress the companies that we are sending you to. So for that reason, the student's progression is definitely important.
Great. And during which stage of the course does a student actually engage in an industry placement? When does it occur?
That would be usually, it depends what you're studying. The whole process with the partnerships team is starting around mid of your study plan. If you are studying our 6 months version, which is accelerated, and Julie and Dallas would be much better to talk about this, but basically after the first term, that would be the first initial communication from our team to you. If you are studying standard course, which goes around 9 to 10 months, you would be looking at the end of second term, when we would start discussing all the bits, all the fun stuff to prepare you for the industry placement.
Nice. And could you tell us a little bit more about the involvement for our future students? What kind of involvement can they expect from the partnerships team along the journey towards the placement? I think they can get a little bit of an idea from the map that we showed earlier, but if you could just elaborate a little bit about your involvement and that relationship that you'll have with them throughout.
Yeah, so there's a lot, particularly we try to cover from the support perspective. There's a huge moving parts that we are trying to do as a journey. And yes, you are right, some of it is on the map, but that's more about particular points. We are, one of the main things would be resumes. There is a difference in how you write a regular resume versus more technical. And I've mentioned now a few times already, we have lots of career changers, and it brings these beautiful flavors from different industry, different areas. When people think, oh, I can write a resume. The technical one is a little bit more complex, and sometimes less is more. And there are sometimes is information that wouldn't normally be mentioned in a regular resume. So there is the coaching, the coaching itself, we kind of do it every 3 to 4 weeks when we do these industry talks. And then part of these industry talks, we do the coaching through online sessions where we discuss tips and tricks on how to prepare not only your resume, but also your LinkedIn profile, GitHub, and other things. We also invite recruiters for them to talk to our cohorts and share their knowledge. So including how to nail your interview, technical interview, and understand how to prepare for these type of questions, because again, it's very different to what you would normally expect. I mentioned the portfolio. That's a big chunk of help where we assist our students. So once you are interested, and you don't even need to be interested in industry placement, and we can help you. We have some students who already have secured jobs prior, and they are not interested. They are not interested to really pursue the industry placement with us. And we can still help you to put together portfolios. And before sending them to the organizations, you will, like I said, need to make sure you have a GitHub, and you have students, your website, your own portfolio website, and LinkedIn profile for the companies and for the future employers for that to be able to review as well.
Yeah, so you basically guaranteeing a job readiness throughout the course. Like they're getting very ready to leave and go off into their first roles in tech. It sounds like you do everything possible in order to make that happen for them. So that's amazing. Given I'm going to say recent concerns, I don't know if they're as prevalent now, but about employment trends in the IT sector. Can you share any insights or feedback from your interactions with industry partners on this note?
Yeah, that's a good one as well. We obviously hear lots of things about it. So when it comes to the market itself, I feel everything is happening at this moment. We are all worried that everything was going to happen, but any events that I'm attending these days is focused on AI and whether AI is going to be taking jobs and stuff. I think from even seeing different organizations having different approaches, different ways how they deal with the situation and the current market, obviously it's very clear that this is very seasonal. That all organizations would say this is a moment blip in the technology. Also, what is often important when we read these articles about, and there are some layoffs and here and there, it's really important to look at what kind of positions are being made redundant. Usually it's the senior level. Some businesses are already seeing positive signs. I had a discussion, one of our partners informed me last week that they are resuming their graduate programs again after 2 years. So it's I think sometimes we like to get into the moment of, oh, this is really bad and what's happening, but we have to remember that this is always evolving environment. The technology industry is never going to disappear. It's just going to get bigger and bigger. And from what I can see, as I mentioned, it is really moment that we've seen last year a little bit, and it looks already a little bit more positive as well. When it comes to, we have 3 cohorts per year, and I can't tell you how many times in the past 6 months we would have students saying to us, "Thank you for your help when it comes to the placement, but I found already junior role. So I don't need, I'm not going to be able to commit to the placement." So,
Amazing. That's great. I mean,
I
that's
mean,
excellent news.
it's great unless we already secured the placement, then it makes extra work for us. But that's really, also quite important to be aware of, that even now we're currently working on 3 different cohorts. I had students who found a job, and we obviously have students who we are placing, as well as students who are getting job opportunities throughout the hosting company. So the market is quite big, let's put it this way. And there are lots of different organizations that we work with. And these days, most of them need developers. And not all of them are able to have a developer, who is senior level. And they will go and need junior developers. And that's why, that's where we can help them.
Awesome. What kind of feedback have you received from our industry partners on what qualities in particular make a good junior dev in the industry? Yeah, like what kind of things do they mention that they need these graduates to possess as far as qualities are concerned?
Yeah, we do collect feedback. Every time a student finishes an industry placement, we send out a survey to the hosting company as well as to the student. The things that we normally ask would be anything about how did you like the placement, what did you think of the graduate's knowledge, and many more questions, which I'm not going to be boring you here with. Having said that, and I think that's going to be quite surprising for people, it's not always about the knowledge that you have. We had students who perhaps you could say they could be more knowledgeable when it comes to Python or JavaScript, but they had willingness to learn new things. And the placement, again, is something that excels so well when it comes to learning new and absorbing new knowledge. So obviously the bootcamp gives you certain pillars, and as you go into a company, there always going to be some variation of what they use, what is the stack they are using. And what we particularly found with the students is the learning curve from that I learned this, and 3 months later after doing either placement or even a job, I would extend or expand the knowledge quite fast. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Okay. So a willingness to learn and maybe actually unlearn some things that, I don't know, like start like from a clean slate and go in fresh and excited and willing to just take on everything in your placement.
Yeah, and look, I never had a company telling us, "Oh, this student had really bad knowledge."
Yeah,
I
right.
would never an organization who would say stuff like, "Oh, I wasn't happy with their knowledge." It's about willing to learn things. If you are ready and really absorbing the knowledge that they can provide you with, then you're gonna most likely succeed throughout the placement.
Okay, awesome. Look, I think as far as our Q&A now is concerned, we might leave it here. I'm going to go through an overall kind of view of what people can expect in the bootcamp, and then I'll invite you back to chat with us again at the end, Henry.
No worries.
But thank you for that. Which means it is time for me to share my screen again. Oh, a mere moment. Here we go. Okay, can we all see a bright green, vibrant screen that says "Why Learn to Code"? I hope so. Awesome. Thank you for confirming that. Nothing worse than speaking to the ether. Okay. So you've come here to talk about and learn about our boot camps, but specifically this evening, obviously, about our industry placements. Here's a little bit of an overview. So why would you learn to code? I'm not going to read all of these to you because I'm assuming that you're able to read for yourself, but you know, basically you might be looking for career prospects, something a bit different to what you've been doing previously, something that's a bit more stimulating perhaps, and, you know, includes problem solving on a daily basis. You might want to use code to do really creative things and build and make things that you've been thinking about for many years. Some people do have ideas before they start the course. It will improve your cognitive function. It gives you the chance to collaborate and work in teams. Some people do work which is, you know, very solitary, and they're looking forward to being part of a team again. And of course, you get to embrace technology. And I will add in there, you get to embrace all of the new languages that'll be coming your way. You'll learn 4 with us, and then there'll be many more in your future for sure. Okay, our boot camps, the next 2 intakes are starting on February 26th. That's the standard 10-month course, and the 25th of March, which is our accelerated 6-month course. If you take the accelerated bootcamp, that will be your full-time job for 6 months. Those classes are from 10 o'clock till 1:45 p.m. Monday to Thursday. So 12 hours of online virtual classroom sessions with an additional 23 hours of facilitated self-study, which you will very much be guided on how to use those hours by your educator during those class times as well. If you take the standard course, which does fit around a full-time job, that will see you in virtual classrooms on a Tuesday and Thursday evening from 7 till 9 p.m. and a Saturday morning from 9 to 1:30. 8 hours of online virtual classroom space per week, with an additional minimum 13 hours per week towards getting through all of the things that you're going to be having thrown at you throughout the course. There will be no shortage of work to do, trust me. We have support hubs in Brisbane, Sydney, and Melbourne. So campuses in each of those places which have a support hub, which has an educator in it, answering your questions from Coder Academy all around Australia, wherever you may be. So they provide you with digital support Monday to Saturday, 9 to 5. You finish with a diploma of IT, and this can be credited towards a Bachelor's of Computer Science in the future if you wish to go down that route. The price is $22,250, and because we are accredited, we're able to offer you fee help loans for the full amount of the course if you're an Australian citizen. Here's how these things look in a visual representation. This is what your week looks like in the accelerated bootcamp. There's your live classes in the green. The yellow is the support available to you. If we look at standard, it looks like this. So your support exists 9 to 5, Monday to Saturday. Your live classes happen on the Tuesday and Thursday evening. And Sunday is free. So Sunday means if you're doing the bulk of your facilitated self-study hours on a Sunday, you can expect that your answers to any, you know, twisty questions, any tricky coding challenges will come to you the following day on a Monday when we have staff again in our hubs. Our course breakdown, it's 3 terms followed by an optional industry placement. You'll learn HTML and CSS in the first term. In the second term, you'll move on to Python programming with Flask. In the third term, you'll learn JavaScript and React, and you'll also learn the MERN stack. And then following on from that, it's either the week directly after, or there's a week break and then you do it, but that's when your 4-week to 8-week, from what Henry said, industry placement will begin. These are some of the places that our graduates are actually working at. So you may have had a question on this come up in your head while Henry was speaking, like, who are these partners? What do we know them? And here's some of them, and you will agree that some of these are quite recognizable. So we have graduates working in these places, and this represents a very small portion of the number of industry partners that we actually do have. If you're thinking of joining us and you'd like to have the chance to, you know, make our fees slightly, well, actually less expensive by half, you might want to go for our Diversity in Tech Scholarship. This scholarship opportunity is closed now for our February intake, but it is still open for our March intake. Applications for this close 2 weeks before the start date of the 25th of March. If you're interested in applying for this, you first need to start your application for the bootcamp, and then applications will be open to you from there. So I encourage you to go for it. There's more information on our website if you'd like to have a read about it. But yeah, go for it. Why not? It will halve the cost of your course. Our application process is quite simple. You apply. You can do that by visiting our website and clicking on the Apply Now button. It'll take you to a one-page application form. You fill it in, and then we get in touch with you, and then you sign a letter of offer. If you're paying by fee help, you sign an ECAF, and then you become a student. If you're paying by installments, you receive an invoice, you pay your first payment, you become a student. It's quite simple. The only thing to slow the process down really would be if you don't have your documents handy, but still you have plenty of time before our March intake for sure. If you're all organised, February is just around the corner, but actually, yeah, still have plenty of time to apply for that one too, to be fair. We always invite you at the end of our slideshow to join us for our next webinar, because they kind of run in a series. So our next session is going to run on Wednesday, the 13th of March. And at the beginning of that session, we're going to have a free mini coding lesson with one of our educators, Alex Holder. Alex is often in the Coder Student Hub on Sydney campus. If you want to check out the campus and come and say hi to Alex, feel free to do so. But yeah, that will be running at lunchtime on the 13th of March. That QR code will take you to the registration page to join us for our next session. So please do. And then feel free to drop off at the part where we start speaking about the course overall. If you want, you can just stay for the coding lesson and then leave us. If that's kind of what you wanted to do, that's fine. All right. So look, this is us. We have avatars. There's Dallas. There's me. We can speak to you about any concerns you have about the course, about your personal circumstances in leading you towards coding and into tech, what kind of barriers you might be facing. We're really happy to have a chat. We're really not scary people. We are very honest too. If we don't think it's for you, we will let you know that, because some people, it's not okay for them. That doesn't happen obviously all that often, but yeah, we're honest, and particularly honest around time, having the amount of time to actually take on the course. That's very important to us. So if it sounds to us like you're not going to be, not going to have the time to put into it, then we sort of try to either steer you away from it, or we steer you to a later date when you will have the time. Okay, that concludes my presentation. And so now I invite Dallas back on from the live chat, and Henry, thank you, to join us again. And then Dallas, how was the live chat? Was it cool? Were people chatting?
They weren't chatting for a while, but we got a few questions towards the end there. So yeah, we got a couple lined up for Henry. So we'll just start off with one here. So Henry, from Aaron, for students that live in rural areas, is there opportunities to do placement remotely?
Yes, that's absolutely possible. Again, something maybe 4 years ago we wouldn't be as keen on, purely because most of our placements were done at the time in person. However, pandemic changed everything, and while we have, and I didn't mention it earlier, but we have physical partnerships coordinator based in Brisbane, Sydney, and Melbourne. We work with organizations across whole Australia. So we have a few companies in Perth, South Australia, Adelaide, and so on. So definitely, you know, there are options for you to do remote. Some organizations have no other option but remote industry placements. So that's definitely possible.
Cool. Awesome. Good question and a good answer. Thank you so much. We got another one here for Henry. So we'll get this one done from Ramtim. Hey team, can the placement opportunities be applied for any time after we finish the course, or on finish to a week after, like mentioned?
Yeah, great. It's funny because we get asked this question, or this particular question, often. It is a bit of both, and I will explain. We normally try to, once you graduate or finish your bootcamp, you have automatically 1 week to have a little break, and technically the placement would be starting right after. However, that's an indication of what to expect when it comes to the industry placement. The placement can start 5-6 weeks later. But at the same time, we do have certain windows throughout the year when we can help you with the industry placement because you are in a certain cohort. I'll give you an example. We had a students finishing end of the year. Now we are helping them and placing them with the organizations. We will be doing this until end of April to make sure that we really maximize the potential of the placements. But after that, there is a certain deadline that finishes, and we move to the next round cohorts that we need to focus on for the future ones. So you have there plenty of time. We, in fact, we are really looking at around 3 to 4 months, at least, the process of finding a placement. For us as a partnership team, it's not as hectic for you as a student or at that time as a graduate. But there is lots of time, but there is that time expires at one point as well.
Julio, hopefully that answers your question there, Ramtim. So we've got one for anyone. So, Lee, if you want to answer this one, you can. From John, is there an exam at the end? And maybe we'll just discuss the assessments a bit further.
Yeah, sure. So there's only one actual traditional kind of exam that you'll do, and that one is for discrete mathematics. Don't be scared of that, by the way. And the rest of them are project-based, or they case studies, or they're like various types of assessments, but it is all like you'll do three main projects, like one big project at the end of each term, and then there's several assignments leading up to that as well, but there's just the one exam. Yeah.
Magical. Sweet. Thank you so much. And we've got one from Felicity here. Sorry, Felicity, I left you hanging. I actually didn't say that I was going to answer your question, so I've just sort of left you there, but I'm answering it now. So, hi, what state are the courses run from so I can convert the time to WA, please? I will answer that one. The educators are actually located in multiple cities across Australia, but you can always assume that it's running off of Sydney and Melbourne time. So, for example, right now, you have to take in, depending on where you are, you have to take into consideration daylight savings, which is happening in those suburbs. But yeah, sorry, those are states. But yeah, so just basically, base it off of Sydney and Melbourne time.
Nice.
Cool.
Yes. Yeah. So that makes it a little more difficult for, like, not difficult, but there's a nicer time during your course for Perth people. Depending on whether it's, daylight savings time or not. I guess you just got to factor it in. Yeah.
Yeah.
We hope you like early mornings on a Saturday. All
cool.
Good.
That's all the questions that I've got at the moment. Oh, we've just got one come through from Esteban. So if a student does not get a job through their placement, is there any other assistance for securing a job afterwards beside the mentioned portfolio and GitHub help?
Meaning if the placement doesn't convert into a job opportunity, is that, yeah? Perfect.
Yeah, I believe that's it. Yeah.
So that happens. That happens actually plenty of times, because while we are focusing on getting you the placement, which often leads into job opportunity, I'm happy to say, at the same time, it's not guaranteed. We can't guarantee it. It's basically depending on the company's needs and requirements and what they need from them for their teams. Having said that, when that would happen, you can always reach out back to us and we help you kind of with the next steps. You, at that stage, should have a good picture of what's going to happen next if you are trying to successfully, transition into the tech industry. But if, again, example, I had a student recently who finished last year, and she just wanted to kind of touch base again and understand, hey, what are my options? I have just finished another placement at the organization. Would there be another opportunities for me? Or what would be the best way how to approach a job search. We can help with that as well. It's not something that we necessarily do every single day, but we can help you with additional assistance too. That's possible.
I will that's a really good answer. I will add to this. Guys, after completion of a bootcamp with us, once you graduate, you will be graduating as a qualified junior full stack web developer. Okay, you're gonna have the skills. They're there. A full stack web development is a super versatile skill set for a developer as well. So it means that there's more job opportunities available to you. Also, there's a shortage of junior developers right now in Australia. So the work is there, guys. Don't stress about not being able to gain employment afterwards. The work is there.
I would just also add to that as well, the work is absolutely there. And I would just say, be really confident in what you've learned through the course, because it provides an amazing foundation. But also be aware that there are certain times of year seasonally where things may be quieter. I think just expect that. Yeah, especially around Christmas and into the new year. We've had feedback from grads that, you know, that was a slower period and then they found work after that anyway. But I think just be aware of that. Yeah, that's what I would.
Sorry, I don't want to interrupt, but just, I think it's also worth mentioning. It really is about also meeting the expectations for yourself. It's very easy to get excited and think that you're going to apply for 5 different roles, and suddenly one of those companies will get back to you and say, you are the one, we want you right away. I love saying example to my students or to our graduates about this particular student from early last year who applied in 1 month around 55 to 60 roles, and 9 of them got back to him saying, thank you for your interest, but we are not interested. And he's working now at Deloitte. So if that's not proof of the concept that you need to be passionate and really driven, as we are hunting for a placement, you need to be hunting for roles that are out there. And I say this particular student experience intentionally because it is great example of how difficult it can be sometimes. And then some students might really apply for 3 roles and get one of them. But it doesn't always mean, if you are not hearing from the companies, it doesn't mean that you are not worthy to work with those organizations. It just means it's going to take a little bit of extra time and a little bit more work.
Yeah, for sure. Any further questions from our live chatters? They can be for Henry or they can be about the course in general. Is there anything else that you guys wanted to ask?
Maybe you want to know about how good the weather is in Brisbane.
No one wants to hear this.
I think we got there another one. I think we got there another question.
Yeah, so Joel's come through with are most placements paid or unpaid? Good question.
Yeah, that's a good question.
And I would be disappointed
to answer it.
if no one asked. So depends, and I will say more. Most of our industry placements would be unpaid, the majority. And then we have some organizations that we work with, they usually will have paid placements. It also depends on the duration. Very unlikely you're going to have 10 to 12 weeks, for example, placement that's going to be unpaid, because it means you most likely will be involved in a bigger projects that actually will be as a key projects for the organization. Otherwise, again, we sometimes send students directly for thinking it's a placement and they are automatically being hired. That's obviously paid when you get a contract. Sometimes we have organizations who take on a contract, which is 3 to 6 months. That's paid as well. But don't necessarily expect that every placement or majority of them would be paid. That would be incorrect. This is supposed to be beneficial to both sides, which is you as a graduate freshly finishing a bootcamp, and then the companies who is on the other hand providing you with the guidance, but also getting the talent, getting the fresh talent through their doors and making sure they can see and screen you whether you would be potentially good hire or not.
So I think just managing expectations on that one. When you start your bootcamp, just expect that it's going to be unpaid and it'll be a delightful surprise when they pay you. I think that's the best way forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And you want to look at the placement as a something, again, as I mentioned, as a part of the experience and getting the validation for the skills you have learned, not necessarily looking at it as a monetized experience. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I suppose actually that would also, payment or not, would depend on the size of the company, wouldn't it? Would it not?
Yeah, no, so we work with large organizations. You guys seen there, companies like High Smile, they are quite big. Qantas, CanStar, who is just taking now students as well from us. That wasn't, I think, mentioned on the stack, but we work with them with the current cohorts. And it really depends. It's sometimes the smaller startups, they need someone more urgently than the larger organizations, and they will be happy to provide paid experience because they most likely going to hire them after. So it really depends, not always one or the other, just case by case.
Yeah, I guess
Sure.
it's kind of like, like you said earlier, it's almost like a bit of a trial period for some people, for some companies to like, for you to come in and then to sort of see how you roll and how you sort of vibe and to make sure you have the skill set there before they move forward with, maybe offering you something. Or, if they're looking to get someone in and they are looking, to get you to work on, live projects for the company, then they're likely going to pay you because yeah. Cool.
That's true.
So we've got a question here from Jonathan. Hi guys, is every student guaranteed placement?
I can take that one. As long as you are doing your study progression as expected, and that means literally study progression. I'm not talking about certain percentage or anything else. As long as you are proving you are learning, which you have to, because you wouldn't be able to do assessments without that, you are absolutely eligible. And that's why when Lee was asking earlier about this, I said we as a partnerships team, we don't technically have any eligibility criteria. We want to make sure you are professional. So again, that's a big no. If you are not, we're not going to be able to place you in a company if we feel you have previously shown that you are not, presenting yourself in the best way possible. But otherwise, it's all for everybody. We want to make sure that this opportunity is for all of our students. We just need to be careful that when we send you, we need to be able to say that person is good to the point when they can provide some kind of assistance to the company as well.
Cool. Beautiful. Lovely. Joel also asks, are the hubs places we can go and study quietly? I'll go ahead and answer that one. 100%, Joel. So basically our campuses are open to students to come and study Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. So you can come and study here if you need a dedicated space to study, if you can't concentrate at home or wherever else. And then you've got some educators that are going to be available in the support hubs by appointment. So if you need to have a chat with someone and you want it to be face to face, you can reach out and book an appointment with one of those support staff, and they'll be able to help you out from there. But then also, we have Discord channels where you can get support there. You can also get virtual support, so sort of face to face like this. This sort of support is available too by appointment. So plenty of support kicking around, and you can definitely come and study on campus. Anyone else have anything to add to that?
No, that was beautiful.
Cool. Lovely. Awesome. Remton's asking, how did you guys get started in tech? Who wants to
Remton, I'm gonna burst your bubble just here. We actually work in education. So our side of things is to understand very deeply what it is that you'll be studying and also be experts on advising you on whether it's right for you or not. So we don't ourselves actually work in tech. We work on the outside of it. So that's kind of our position in the industry, if that makes sense. We're on the outer cusp.
The outer cusp. I did used to work for Apple. I was a senior advisor for Apple Care, so I was in tech.
Were you a genius? Were you one of the genius people?
Yeah, so the senior without going down a rabbit hole here, the senior advisors, I was basically the Apple geniuses in the stores for hardware, and I was an Apple genius for software. So that's what I dealt with. I was the software genius.
I had a hard moment once with a genius. It was really bad. I had to kiss my computer goodbye. I walked out crying. Anyway, Shay is asking, what do we need in terms of equipment? That's a good question. Dallas, do you want to do that? I can find the specifications for the
I've actually
computer.
got the thing. I've got the thing right here. I've
Oh,
got the thing. No, you can put it in, it's fine. Yeah, I'll talk about that. So basically, you obviously want a brand new Mac OS running machine. No, you don't need anything mind-blowing. You just basically need to have something that's going to run the latest operating system. Whether it's PC or whether it is a MacBook or or a Mac, that you work at home. Doesn't actually need to be a laptop these days because, unless you do want to come to campus, you're going to have that with you. But yeah, ultimately, you want something that's going to run the latest operating system. Preferably, you do want something that has 16 gig of RAM. Okay. That's actually more important for Mac OS than it is for PC. In a pinch, you can get away with 8 gig in your machine, but there could be a point where you have multiple pieces of software open at the same time, and it might put a little bit too much strain on it. So we recommend 16 gig. The computer doesn't need to be overly powerful in itself. You're not really, doing anything, mind blowing. You're not running it like as a server, so to speak. So it doesn't need to be that, that powerful. It also doesn't need to have an enormous hard drive or SSD in it either. Most of the stuff that you're going to do is either small files for installing, or it can also everything's going to get pushed to the cloud anyway, so to GitHub. So yeah, basically you're not going to need a crazy amount of storage. So yeah, basically it's something that's going to run the latest operating system is what you need. I think is it 2019? Is that what we're asking?
I just got it in time. Oh,
yeah, cool. There you go. It says 2019. I did get it right. So yeah, basically we're looking for a machine that's no older than 2019, essentially. Machines that are a little bit older than that are kind of like, coded different. And even though they may be able to run current OS or operating systems, you might find that there could be issues you run into. Great question, David, asking whether he can use Linux as operating system. You can use Linux. Linux is actually acceptable, provided you know your particular version of Linux well. With Linux comes its own problems. So, if you start to run into issues with that are basically that are Linux issues that are affecting your coding education, then it's going to be up to you to try and resolve those issues yourself. The reason why we, specifically sort of ask people to stick with Windows or Mac OS is because the educators will be able to, move forward in helping you resolve issues if there happens to be an OS issue that's affecting your code. But Linux is it's a bit more of a big boy OS that can have some dramas sometimes. But if you're a bit of a Linux aficionado, then by all means.
nice answer.
Yeah, cool.
Okay. Anything else, people? You've got 7 entire minutes
7 minutes.
until we just cut you off. No.
Cool.
But did you have any other questions for this evening? And
No.
it's quiet.
Nothing at all.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad someone asked. It's fantastic. Thank you so much.
Oh, that's great. Yes.
It's actually yeah, it's really good here.
That's up there with the time that we said any further questions and someone said ask Dallas where he gets his mustache wax from or something.
It's a trade secret.
All good. Well,
Cool.
if you guys don't have any further questions, we might call it a night and let you get back to your dinner or your favorite show, whatever it is that you're watching or eating this evening. Thank you, Henry and Dallas, for joining us this evening. It's been very, very cool and interesting.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, guys. Have a good evening.
Thanks, everyone on the live chat for all of your very lively questions. Really good. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.